Get connected, Fitchburg. We're launching Fitchburg Connect, the city's new monthly e-newsletter that keeps you informed about all the events, services, and updates that matter to you. Get it in your inbox once a month. Our first edition is live now. Sign up today to get Fitchburg Connect.
Hi, I'm Jeremy Crosby.
And I'm Nick Boucher. We're your hosts for the program that's all about your city, Talking Fitchburg.
Every weekday, we pull together the news, events, and information you need to stay on top of what's happening in the city of Fitchburg.
Find Talking Fitchburg on cable TV, Roku, Amazon Fire, Apple TV, and our live stream on the web. Plus, you can find all our headlines and stories on Facebook, YouTube, and our video on demand service. This is your city.
Keep up with Talking Fitchburg and the issues affecting you and your neighbors.
The top of your head.
I know, I'm thinking about blocking the video. I know that's distracting. I had it set from my end where you could see my full face, but you can't now. So
Oh, okay, sorry. I was just letting you know. Apologies.
okay, I can definitely block my video and then people will just hear my voice. Is that okay?
That's fine. Yeah.
I don't see why not.
Okay, all right, let's do that. Sorry about the angle. I was really trying to get it so it was just right, and then I got onto here and suddenly just the top of my head. So I'll do that, okay?
Find out.
Yeah, that sounds great. It's only commission members that have to show their face. So
Okay, thank you. I appreciate
you're welcome.
that.
All right, and it's 6:01, so we'll call this meeting to order. February 5th edition of the Fitchburg Parks Commission. First order of business is approval of the January minutes. Do I have a motion to approve?
If I may make a comment quick?
Yep.
There was one recommended alteration to it, being the inclusion of any public comments and the names associated with them on the corresponding agenda items. So I will include those in the amended minutes, so you can adopt as amended if you would like to include those.
Good. And actually, before we take a motion, we have a citizen registered to speak. Patrick Cheney of Tarpon Hills. Come on up, Patrick.
Appointed members of this park commission and as representatives of some 37,000 residents, your meeting minutes are a different format this time, a minimalistic version now. Is this what you want for your official record of your government business meeting? This is your own best record of your discussions and actions, and for the public as well. Many finer point details are omitted here, and now it is reverted back to very little reported. From experience, it can take years to get agendas, packets, and minutes into better form for the benefit of boards, committees, commissions, council, for good detailed information for both members who may need to review past deliberations and critical points made, and for good thorough reporting to residents whom you represent to review your work. But how quickly details and past improvements can disappear if you don't object now. This reads like it was an empty room. No one else, just some members present, some on Zoom. Some say just watch the video for details. But do you watch meeting replays for minute by minute to review a discussion, or do you prefer a quick read on high interest points? The commission members are only the 7 appointed voting commission members, not anyone else. Others who attend are good to note for their participation in business actions, such as the deputy administrator, but this doesn't explain why or where he contributed. He provided good advice and clarification, but this doesn't say that. What did he do? The mayor attended and spoke on an item, but the mayor is not even acknowledged. I watched this meeting over to check, and 2 residents registered, not just me this time, by properly submitting the official city form, but neither are recognized as attending, participating, speaking, taking part in this meeting. Did the rest of us just not really exist? The council minutes recognizes and lists residents participating in their meetings. Other meeting groups are far more comprehensive in their meeting reporting. There were good questions asked, such as about the legitimacy of addresses given on a topic. That's not mentioned, and it was a good point to ask because it doesn't look good for city staff to use a work address. Probably means not living here and paying these taxes. If you get 3 others to agree, this question and answer will be in these minutes, whether staff like it or not. Or else, don't vote to approve your minutes until it reads in a version as you want. You should know the improvement details added in agendas and minutes over the past many years. There were many, and these were properly used as part of each meeting, as you remember, right? Do you need to review your commission agendas and your minutes from 6 months or a year ago? Park Commission minutes are exactly what the Park Commission wants and votes to approve. It's up to you.
Thank you, Patrick. Now we can take a motion to approve the minutes with any amendments that folks may have.
I'll move approval with the amendments as proposed by our staff contact.
I'll second.
Very good. Any further discussion? All right, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Unopposed? All right, motion carries. Let's see, do we have any public appearances for non-agenda items? Who's here for agenda items? All right, thank you very much. Let's see, review and approve the agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda as written?
I'll move approval of the agenda as written.
Second?
I'll second.
Second by Heidi. All those in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, item number 5, we'll start with 5A. This is a discussion item, so I believe we can just roll right into it. We don't need to take a motion on this. Before the group comes up to speak, we do have a citizen wanting to speak on the point, Patrick Cheney. Wishing to speak on item 5A. Come on up if you.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but I also am registered to speak.
Okay, thank you very much. Elizabeth will come to you next. And as everyone's probably familiar, we try to keep comments to 3 minutes, so please do your best to keep it to that. We'll have a timer running for you. Take it away, Patrick.
This is not even an agenda action item, voting item. This is just here now to prep you for later. None of you were here on this commission when this issue started in discussions years ago. Only one of you was around, and there is a story with that. None know the background history of how this is a contentious, heated conflict topic. You don't know what you don't know. There's a lot of additional information and background missing conveniently from this. This is 74 pages of words, which will all be shelved as soon as it passes council. It is only a step in a sequence of actions to get a predetermined preferred result. The rest of these pages are just fluff to make it look good, to show how money was spent. You don't know the good questions to ask, the hard questions, or to dig into the real contentious issues. 74 pages is a good way to slip in text that will be quoted and used in slanted, obscure ways later. There may be some small good parts mixed in with some really bad parts, but did you find or see any? It is of no use to point out specifics because you are going to pass this along, no questions asked, just a brief review and then say, yeah, sure, fine, TLDR, all looks good, go ahead, no problem. Because this commission doesn't know why this is here now and what it is really meant for.
Patrick. We'll turn to then Elizabeth here virtually. Elizabeth, wishing to speak on item 5A.
Yes, thank you so much, commission members, for allowing me the opportunity to speak to you and make you aware of the situation in the Gold Park Addition, a woodlot of woods and wetlands that is located in the Greenfield neighborhood. Residents gave preserving the Gold Park Addition a high priority in the recent FUTA process. The woods serve as an air conditioner for the neighborhood during peak times of heat and humidity, and as a refuge for local wildlife. The woods also serve as a valuable carbon sink offsetting that increasing carbon footprint of the city of Fitchburg caused by development. So it offsets the development done by the city of Fitchburg. According to GIS, the Gold Park Edition has not been cataloged as to tree species and their health. Their condition is unknown. Our property is adjacent. From a visible inspection, it's obvious that there is a critical amount of dead tree debris and invasive brush species, which is compromising the safety of routine basic inspection and assessment, as well as posing significant fire risk. Dead branches are also falling into the drainage ditch, thereby reducing its effectiveness. Photos of these issues were sent a year ago to the urban forester Anna Healy, the mayor, city administrator, and my alders. Alder Micah, we're just going to call you Micah, is aware of the situation. A major obstacle is funding. A policy as outlined by the proposed urban forest plan strategic plan is great, but the situation should not have to wait an additional 1 to 3 years for basic maintenance that I'm describing. If we are spending over $150,000 in employee costs annually, but only $21,000 on execution necessary actions, then something is way out of sync. I would like to see this amount for operations increased to $50,000 to $60,000 annually, and the Gold Park Edition given top priority as it had very little maintenance since 2012 when the city acquired it, and the only people that it could, I guess an Eagle Scout went in there and did some work, but I've not been able to uncover any other work. In the photos I took, it appeared that the access road was in good condition. It's possible that with the ground hardening, maintenance work could be done late fall and winter. I would also like to see a computer tracking database for this type of work, which integrates into the proposed computer hardware upgrades in the city's strategic plan. Ideally, that database should record residents' requests for work, assessment date, completion date, and cost. Spreadsheets are problematic because they lack consistent rules for labeling header columns, by which spreadsheets are often sorted. What is needed is a database that can be easily learned and maintained and is capable of spitting out requested reports quickly. The volunteer base is good, but could it be improved by allowing people adapted using gas and electric powered pruning devices and saws into its ranks. Volunteers would need to try out, sign a waiver, and work under the supervision of a city-approved employee or other party. My neighbor has a safe 56-volt 10-inch pole saw that he got this past year. He's industrious and he can get a lot done in 1 to 2 hours of work. He's been generous with his time and assisted me in emergency situations and also routine pruning. We both wanted done. I am sure that there are younger people, not just retired people, that we could recruit to volunteer in this area. So that's the bulk of what I'm saying. Sorry, this is 3 minutes, so I just sort of raced along. But I wanted to let you know this because I don't feel like this particular area is on anybody's radar. I feel like it's kind of like a burden or ignored. And 1 to 3 years, we're at a critical time now where somebody needs to go in and start, assessing and saying, yeah, let's get a crew in there and let's start to clean this up. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Elizabeth. And then we have one more person wishing to speak on this item. That is Nancy Halford, 2621 Tarpley. Nancy, come on.
Can I sit up here?
Sure.
Nancy Halbert. I guess it's a couple questions on the forestry management plan. I went to the open house that was held a couple months ago, I think, and they had a distribution of the survey results, which I picked up a copy of, and I see that that's also included as excuse me, as an appendix in the forestry plan, but I haven't been able to see any of the comments that were made on that survey. And I believe that it indicated that there were at least 3 questions that had multiple comments. So I'd like to ask that that also be included in the appendix to the forestry management plan, since that is a legitimate part of the survey. And I'd like to get a copy of those comments if they have they been tabulated? Does anyone know if they've been tabulated
The public comments for the actual management plan are,
for the survey?
yeah, they're on file. We have the public comments collected.
Okay, so they could be included fairly easily.
Administration said not to.
That may be distribution of, potentially specific personal data or comments or something like that. I would not recommend that we include the specific public comments to it, but I can ask for further clarification from administrators.
Would it be possible to see a list of the public
That may
comments?
be necessary for an open records request. What I will do is I'll take your information down and then we can keep posted, but I would like to run it by administration first.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay, thank you.
The other thing I would like to comment on is way back when all of the forest management plan was originally talked about, there was work that was approved for the McGaw Park woods in areas 1 and 5 of McGaw Park and Johnson Park. And I was under the understanding that as a result of the work that was done, since it was only done in those 2 areas, that there would be an evaluation of the work that was done so we could see what progress had been made or what the value of what was done in those areas was before anything was done further in any of the other areas. And I have not personally seen that evaluation. Does anyone know if that exists?
That being a point of conversation.
I don't think that was part of, I don't recall that being part of.
That wasn't part of the resolution.
Of our 2024, they just removed the restrictions on areas 2, 3, and 4.
No, it may not have been part of that one, but going back to our 17-18, I believe when that was put through, that part of the discussion, at least, not necessarily part of the actual resolution, but part of the discussion was that it would be done in those, work would be done in those 2 areas. And then an evaluation would be done to see what the results of the work was. So it would be, worthwhile to have that evaluation, I think. So I would also like to see what that looks like.
Results and costs.
Results and costs.
Okay, we'll have to check into if that was part of that conversation. I don't remember that, but certainly something we can check into.
Okay, I would appreciate both of those things. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, I do not have any other registrations for item 5A, so we can have the rest of the folks that are here to speak on that give their presentation if they'd like.
Okay, awesome, thank you very much. Hello, good afternoon, good evening. Thank you for letting us come and talk. We just wanted to get comments on the plan before the public comment period was over. I'm Anna Healy. I'm the urban forester naturalist here at the city of Fitchburg, and I'll let Linda introduce herself as well.
So I'm Linda Brewer, and I'm on the Two Advisory Committee, and we started in the city at the same time.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. So this plan was written by a consultant, and I guess we're gonna lean heavily on him for our presentation. Before we get started though, I just wanted to thank everyone who's really put a lot of time and effort into this. Most people here have really thoroughly read this document and commented and put together some really thoughtful comments that we were able to make the document better. So thank you very much to everyone who's done that. We really appreciate all your input. And there's been a huge effort just to constantly move this process forward. So I just wanted to say thank you to everyone who's done that before Rich gets started.
Thank you.
All right, take it away, Rich.
Hey, good day or good evening. I was going to say good afternoon, and thanks for the opportunity to assist with the City of Fitchburg's Strategic Urban Forest Management Plan. Can I share a screen? Is that possible?
You should be able to, yes.
All right. And thanks, Anna, for setting it up on that. We're in the current public review time period, so I'd encourage anyone and everyone to take a look at the document, the draft that's in stage right now. have received comments so far, and those are going to be incorporated into the next version. And the public review period started approximately mid-January. I don't remember the exact date, and unfortunately, my computer cannot hook up with the City of Fitchburg's website. I got some socket errors, but it is going through February 19th, and there is again the documents on the City Council's website, or excuse me, the city's website, and there's the way to actually respond for the public comments. Obviously, we're here February 5th. It's a first opportunity to discuss the plan with you. And a reminder, next week, actually next Thursday, the 12th, the Tree Advisory Committee will be meeting. And at 4 p.m., it's also set up as a public meeting. So that's another opportunity to provide comments on the plan. And March 2nd is the time frame to get the final draft set to the City Council for their first reading of it. After that, April 2nd, the Parks Commission will have a vote on the plan of the revised draft that we have. It's planned for April 9th. The Tree Advisory Committee votes on the plan for approval, and then it goes to the Common Council on the 14th, which also happens to be a Arbor Day celebration or proclamation, I should say, for your community. I just want to give you a time frame of the current prospectus of the plan. Any questions?
And the other salient date is February 24th is the end of comments. So
yes,
that's an important date to keep in mind.
Yes. So, and Sam had pointed out that it was put on the website the 6th of January for comments. So the public comment period is 6 weeks.
Yep. All right. So, from a presentation standpoint, this is the plan that's on the website, and goes into details. The plan itself gives a little historical perspective of where the city of Fitchburg, how it developed, past land uses, conditions of significance for growing in urban forest, soils, climate, hydrology, things like that. The next part of the phase of the project was to identify the state of the urban forest. And I'll just briefly go into that. I'll show you some images and give you some high elevation points, but really looking at the urban forest, the condition, the species, and things like that. We had periods of community engagement. Certainly, a public meeting like this is another approach for getting a public's comment on the current state of the plan. We had a community survey, and I'll briefly give some results of that here. And then a really important part was in identifying the current state of the urban forest program, what we call current program review, where we look at the city of Fitchburg's urban forest program and how it compares to other communities, budgets, staffing, and the like. And then the really important part is strategic recommendations. And it's a 5-year plan. And one of the recommendations, certainly with 5-year plans, is timeframes of ongoing 1 to 3 year time frame within 5 years and things like that. And am I the only one hearing some background noise?
Yes.
Okay.
We don't hear anything.
All right. Yeah. So right now in the draft stage on the executive summary, this was really designed for kind of the council at high level. And I really appreciate some of the initial comments coming in. It's too long. That's awesome. And I had some really cool drafts of suggestions from others. We're actually going to put that in, and actually going to use this as a standalone document to provide council kind of a summary of the entire report. So that's kind of one of the features of the plan evolving into the draft, of certainly taking the comments that people have at heart. I want to just jump quickly, move on to the state of the urban forest and give you some awesome news on some prospectus. And so, for example, when you look at an urban forest, we can look at tree diversity, really, really important. And the city of Fitchburg has a pretty strong history of urban forest development along the streets and in parks. And compared to some academic research that I've actually been involved with looking at tree diversity in the United States, where usually the top 6 tree species represent a little over 60% of the tree population. In the case of Fitchburg, it's close to about a quarter. That's actually on the excellent side of urban forest diversity and for public trees. So that's something you should, pat yourself on the back for. The other part is if you look at any one species, like Freeman maple, it's a hybrid between red maple and silver maple. It's a natural hybrid, and it's a cultivated variety on the market. That's the most abundant one, and we try to keep things under 5%. But kind of when we start getting at 10%, you could think of it like an engine on a car redlining. And again, your most abundant species is actually just slightly above one of the low end of a recommendation for diversity. Same thing with your genera. So like the maples, all the maples here, like Freeman maple, red maple, etc. So again, I just want to point out you have a very diverse urban forest. Why is that important? Well, you're living in the life of emerald ash borer. And some of you, myself included, remember the days of Dutch elm disease doing its roaring thing in the 1960s and 70s. And that, so diversity is important. So City of Fitchburg public tree population, you've done awesome. You have a really excellent tree population from a condition perspective. And one other last cool thing, for whatever reason that graph went away. You have a really nice distribution of tree species from an age class perspective, diameter, that you've got a lot of young trees to replace trees as they age and attrition out. And so I'd have to say from a model urban forest perspective, you've got a lot of cool things that Anna and her colleagues have done along with her predecessor. Mm-hmm. And so your urban forestry program is really an artifact of a lot of effort of people over time. We did a canopy assessment for the community. Why is that important? Because it shows how things change over time. And actually go down here. All right. Get to where I was wanting to be.
Interject something,
All right.
Rich? I just wanted to say
go for it.
That the reason that we know this is that we have an updated tree inventory. So, you know, as we've been planting trees, like maniacs for the last, 12 plus years, we've also been keeping our inventory up, which is really important. So when you see staff running around with, it's usually me running around with the handheld GPS, that's what I'm doing. And that's like the underpinning of all of this, is having that really good data. So I just wanted to point out that, you really do need that good foundation to be able to even know what you have or what you don't have and be able to do this kind of analysis.
Yeah, thanks for pointing that out, because that's another thing is you're using some really cool technology. You've got an awesome GIS technician, specialist who has developed an in-house GIS system. So you're not subscribing to someone else's program. It's all built in-house. And also there's some electronic systems that have been developed now for electronic collection of records and updating in the future. So you're really progressing really well as an urban forest program. Only thing I want to point out about tree canopy is you're growing, which is also an artifact of trees in the ground. And even you could think of an emerald ash borer. So you've taken trees out because of that pest, but you're still growing. And you could probably make an artifact, or not an artifact, a conclusion of where is the canopy growing? Well, partially is agricultural fields that have been developed. So you go from corn to canopy, if you want to use an analogy like that. And so, but this is an important benchmark because it does give you a perspective of trees and what they're covering above ground. And we did an assessment of your code in general. The elevator message is you've got a pretty effective code. There's some areas that we make some recommendations for some updating and changes, but most of those are all kind of minor and important to consider. But if you change nothing in your code, you have a pretty good tree code for the purposes of urban forest management in the city. We did a SWOT assessment with the staff, and that was very useful to give a perspective. Yes, I'm sorry. I that's a pet peeve of mine when acronyms get used and someone doesn't define it. So thanks for calling that out. It's you could think of like good, bad, or ugly. It's strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. So strengths would be like the staff at the City of Fitchburg are awesome. They love what they do. That was just not a few people saying that. That came over, and we had 5 different SWOT assessments. And peers were talking about let's say the field folks, that they love what they do. Many of these have built their urban forest expertise by not going to formal education, but informally actually learning how to do things and taking a passion on maintaining trees through, let's say, structural pruning, but other things have just taken a passion for trees in the community. So that was something that was really evident. Some of the weaknesses pointed out was actually like data collection and updating. And so, as I pointed out, you've got an electronic system for moving work orders to staff. but one of the concerns they had was the technology and kind of the barrier. It's something new. So you got the technology there, but also kind of the training. So a SWOT assessment really gives you a perspective of things that are going well, but also some opportunities. So for example, City of Fitchburg, proximity to several different places of education, whether it's Madison College or UW-Madison, where you've got trained people that can provide expertise and assistance, maybe as summer seasonals or things like that. As pointed out earlier, we did a survey of the community. And I've done enough of these in my professional life, either from academic studies or working with communities. And often they validate things you already know. And that didn't surprise me that you had a 2015 survey that we could also kind of make comparisons to. So we did that with this part of the plan here. And there was a comment earlier about comments. And yes, we left those out deliberately for a couple of reasons. One pointed out is trying to protect people and not provide a comment that you can attribute to a person, which is important. But the other part is the comments alone are about 40 pages of information. So they kind of take away from, it add to the length of the plan. So I'll gladly do what you'd like from a public comment perspective. But what we did was we summarized kind of the general consensus of the comments. But again, the public record of all these are important. So the process that you laid out, I think, is a good one to follow. That. But again, here what points out is some things of people certainly do want trees in the city of Fitchburg, and there's certainly a passion about where and how the maintenance occurs. And so that's an important part of the community engagement part is really taking the overall community and putting perspective of kind of majorities of what people want. And moving on here. Program review, again, this was the prospectus. Take a look at it, and really what it compares you to is benchmarking. So for example, from a staffing perspective, as I pointed out, giving praise to a lot of the cool things that the staff are doing for the city of Fitchburg, you're doing it with a population of people that is actually relatively low relative to peers. And the peers themselves, for example, 5.3 FTE, this would be at the national level for a comparable population group of 25,000 to 50,000 people. So the city of Fitchburg, I think you're currently around 36,000 estimated by the state of Wisconsin. And you've got currently 3 FTE. And the FTE is one full-time forester, and then a combination of park staff. And I think on average there's 5 or 6 park staff, but cumulatively these together, there's not one person that's assigned full-time to assist with forestry needs. They actually assist when time allows. So cumulatively those together, it comes to about 3 FTE. So there's some recommendations from a staffing perspective of things. And then again, with budgets, how you compare, you're actually doing a lot of work on a small budget relative to comparison means, whether it's a population group, and here's a median comparison, or if you look at it from the Midwest. So using these types of benchmarks. And I know the benchmarks pretty well because I was part of developing these in 2014, and we're in the process of getting these updated in 2025. My goal is actually to have the most recent statistics in there rather than taking like this population, or excuse me, this budget that's based in the population group. It's taking the 2014 number and extrapolating it forward based on some inflationary numbers. And so hopefully I can use the 2025 work that we're just in the process of analyzing here in the next month or so. So again, benchmarks to actually not only compare where you're at today, but then to see where you are 5 years from now. So that's program evaluation. And then really the heart of the strategic plan is recommendations. And we use the model that you already have in your City of Fitchburg comprehensive plan. So that has goals, objectives, and policies. So we use the same framework, rather than reinventing the wheel. And I'm working with a couple other communities across the nation where whatever, and we've used the same approach. So using the common language that's used in other comprehensive plans. And we could come up with a new set of language, but it just seemed fitting using that type of vernacular. And so there's 5 different goals in this plan along with objectives. So goal would be high level, like enhance the city's urban forest by developing metrics and evaluate progress towards meeting urban forest goals. And there's various objectives, like establish staffing requirements, collect relevant data. And then for each of these, we have a policy that gets in a specific approach of how you obtain it along with the effort. The effort would be like staff identify work needs and kind of from an easy to a moderate to a more challenging level of effort to have something occur. And then priority, this particular one, priority 1 to 3 years to accomplish starting this and then make it ongoing after that. So again, I'm not going to go through each one of these goals or objectives. I could go professor mode on you and do that, but I challenge or invite you to take a look at these goals and objectives and policies and provide comments, or maybe something's missing. And I think that's even as important, just not what's in here, but is there's actually something missing that would be important. And so far in the comments, there was one identified goal, or excuse me, I should say objective to add to a goal, and we'll take that in consideration. And that's really it. And so we're at 6:35. I will turn it back to Anna and the Park Commission for any questions you may have of us.
Does the Park Commission have any questions or concerns or insights I'd like to comment on the plan? Yes, Steve.
Several. Do we have a percentage canopy we're trying to pursue? Is it 30%?
Mm-hmm.
Now, is that 30% of the entire 6 square miles?
No, urban service area.
Urban service territory. So it excludes. We really don't have any much ag land in the urban service territory.
No, we do not.
Okay, so 33%. So are we taking out the acreage of streets, or it's just?
So not really. So we're looking for 30% canopy cover in the urban service area just across the board. We're at like 22 or 23 now, I believe, is what Rich has told us that we're at. Yeah, and so we try to make up, so how we kind of average that out is in our parks. Part of what we did at Hugh Jamestown is we try to pack more trees into our parks to have more canopy cover as appropriate. There's reasons we can't do that all the time, but we try to have more canopy cover in more appropriate places to make up for streets and things of that nature.
Okay, because it becomes difficult moving on because all will improve our dense neighborhoods, and trees aren't gonna, you can't have much for trees. With those houses so close.
It's tough. It's tough.
We're losing there. The farm field with corn growing sequesters more carbon than in the neighborhood. So it's 30% is our goal. Is it by 2030 is what we're looking
I think it was 2050.
2050, okay.
Yeah, 20. If I can add to that, looking at your current growth rate of canopy, and that even includes losing trees from emerald ash borer, you could actually hit that goal if everything goes as you keep with the trees that you're putting in the ground, the growth rate of trees, and assuming we don't have any catastrophic things like storms or other insect disease issues, that's an attainable goal by 2050.
Okay. Where can we gain the most? We only have so many parks, parks can't be all canopy.
No, they can't. No, they can't.
Ball fields. Where can we gain should we be focusing on asking people to plant more trees in their yards, along the streets? Do you have a strategy there?
So that's a really good question, Dave. And if you look at the image that actually Rich is nice enough to put on, that's our existing tree canopy. Yeah. So, we're not, and if you look at that, most of those trees are private trees. So most of our gains would be probably on private property.
That's what I was thinking. Yeah.
So and we do, we do keep that in mind as we're planting public trees. We definitely do consider what's on the private property. We're not really able to do much in terms of management or planting on private property, but we do work with multifamily housing units and things of that nature to try and encourage more canopy on those properties. But you're right, the gains would come from private property.
Okay.
And if I can just add a slight comment to that end, we did have we did get a federal grant to increase canopy in some of our neighborhoods, and that money can be spent on private properties. So some of those trees are being planted on private properties, but that's really as close as we get in terms of, and we're partnering with a nonprofit to do that. It's not us doing it. So that's about as close as we get to working on private property.
Thank you.
I'm going to speak briefly. I've already given a ton of edits and so on to this document, so.
Yeah, thank you for taking the time.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot in this document, I think that, you know, is one addition is just a glossary, because there's a lot of terms in here. And I submitted one, I think, to our group or whatever, because there's a lot of terms in here, obviously, that both the public and I'm sure the Common Council don't know the answers to, so I wrote one.
Perfect.
Not that it was inclusive of
Thank you.
everything
Thank
that's
you
in
for
there,
that.
like, I didn't define what urban service area was, but I did some other ones, right?
Yeah.
So that's, I think, relatively important. And I think the other thing is I restructured the executive summary, and we talked somewhat about that just because
Yes.
much of the summary, and, you know, unfortunately, most people are only gonna read the executive summary. The key point he made, which was on page 32, was, you know, you don't have enough staff.
Yeah.
And that's on the critical path to anything that the city's gonna do. So if they don't have sufficient staff, then none of this stuff is gonna work. The other thing we tried to do is like, where does this sit among all the things that are going on? This is telling the city what should we do. It doesn't say anything about how the city's going to do it or how it's gonna fund it, right? So those are, when I wrote it up, I said, this plan fits in a overall.
Right, big picture.
So I think big picture, you gotta realize that there's a whole lot more work that has to be done here in order to answer a lot of the questions that people are asking or will ask, right? So I think when you present this, you probably should present it in that fashion, just to say, look, this is the what's.
Yeah.
This is what we should have in a strategic forestry plan. Phase 2 is gonna say, here's how we're gonna do it. Like the one woman who came here was asking for an evaluation. Part of that should be, in phase 2, we're gonna sample different parks and see, you know, just like we would do as we were scientists. In year 0, here's what our pH is of our soil. Here's what our canopy coverage is. In year 1, we had this number of oak saplings. We had this number of, you know, buckthorn reseeded. So you've gotta have data that you can see, how did we do this? So not only on the aggregate level, but on the micro level as well. So that stuff's really important, should answer the question that everybody's gonna ask at the end of this 5 years, you know, what did it do, right? So I did include all that in my comments rewrite of the executive summary, and, you know, I think there's a lot of work that can be done. I know we have a really, really short time frame to do this, so I apologize.
No, that's fine, yeah. Thank you for taking the time to do that.
And your comments have already started being put into this current draft, so.
Okay.
Yeah, thanks for taking the time to do that.
Yep.
That's Sam trying not to talk.
It's me trying not to talk.
Oh. Thank you, Sam, for all the guidance that you provided so far.
Sure. Trying to help Anna.
Of course, thank you, Sam.
I just want to say, in the previous community that I worked, I came obviously on the very tail end of this project. I just want to say this is something that I strived to achieve with the city of Lake Mills, having an urban management plan. I think this is a digestible document. I think it's informative. I think it's well laid out. And I just want to thank the work that Anna has put into drafting this. This is not a one-year project. This is a culmination of her tenure here. So I want to say thank you very much to her work.
Thank you.
But still, if we could get a reminder of the dates for the other following meetings, Rich, if you would be able to throw that back on the screen, just so we can get a reminder. Yep. Perfect, thank you. Other than that, that's all I have. Thank you.
You're welcome, Eric.
And the one that was missing on there that's really important. The one that's missing on there.
2024.
The 24th.
Yes.
Yep, February 24th is the end of our
End
public
date.
comment period.
Yes, thank you, thank you. Thank you, Sam.
And thank
Okay,
you.
I had the 19th, but so.
Thank you for considering the additional goal. We've been working a lot on tree preservation, so that's a really big deal to me. And when the city is developing so quickly and has increased so rapidly, there's tons of infrastructure on the ground and under the ground. And there aren't staff and resources to do all the protecting that needs to be done. There's incredible information on the website, which is available to the public about great selection for trees, but also how to protect your trees when there's any construction on your private property. But I feel like there isn't, even when permits are given and buildings are happening, there's not enough time to monitor all those things as they happen. So, and then we have very aggressive, very, very proactive planting program, which is incredible, but we don't have budget for taking care of new trees. So new trees require more water and attention in the first 3 to 6 years. We don't have that in the budget. We don't have a proactive pruning program. And those are all the things that sustain trees and tree canopies. So it's really, I mean, they're really good investments for the community. So I'm trying to think more.
Yeah, thank you, Linda.
Yeah. So I'm very excited. Very excited. Very excited for the city about what this means. So, thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody, for your work on this so far. I think it's just loaded with great information and a lot of really surprising and encouraging takeaways. You know, the fact that at the rate at which we've been developing, our tree canopy has grown over the last 10 years is pretty remarkable. And so I think, one takeaway is that we have a lot of work to do and limited resources to do it, but also look at what we've done with what we have, and we've been making progress. So I think that this list of sort of accomplishments and then goals can be an arrow in our quiver as we fight for continued funding and support to show that it is possible. So.
Absolutely.
I'd just add, the comments, talk about the park, in Jamestown, we planted trees. A lot of them were dead because they didn't get water.
I know.
And it just breaks my heart, but our friends of the parks, we get some people, and they're gonna take ownership of that park and plant trees, take turns watering them, or I think we're setting up a framework to help with this.
Yeah, which is great. Yeah, I just had a quick chat with an alder about the summer intern program.
Oh, awesome.
That you have.
Yes.
You have one intern,
Yes.
and that if you had 2 interns, that's really bang through the buck and the time
Absolutely.
that you need them. But the alder thought that would be more help for watering trees, but the fact is, nobody waters the trees. And it's not because they don't know it should be done, it's just they are doing a lot of other things that they must do. So when we had the drought period a couple of years ago, just near where I live, there's 2 parks, and we scraped up volunteers and drove around and watered those trees in those parks.
Thank you for doing that.
And I'm sure other people may have done the same thing, but yeah, it would be great to coordinate if you're going in to do a certain park, that in the future, if we know, we can find volunteers to do that, that'd be great.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't make sense to put all the time and effort into planting them and then just watch them die.
Right.
I think since I've been on the Tree Advisory Council, I've been very aware of there's a lot of things that Anna does as our city arborist and forester that I wondered if they were all on her job description. I was asking her. So she supplements our city budget by the grants that she writes, which are incredible. She supplements our staff and resources by all the agencies that she partners with that help. Along with that comes volunteers for some of the busier planting seasons or time of the year. But it's very clear that the city has grown rapidly in the last 10 years. But the budget for maintenance, the arborist position became full-time, thank goodness, but the budget for the most part has not grown with the growth of the city. And of course, every time we get park improvement plans and properties, then we have to maintain that, so.
And if I
Might be work ahead of us.
Yeah, and if I can just tag onto that, Linda, like part of the reason that I'm able to write successful grants is because we have so much volunteer time, that I can put in there, which is really very impactful. So thank you for all of you who do all of those things. It's quite impactful. All right. Well, I guess I don't want to take much more meeting time. I really appreciate all the time that you guys have given us, and we look forward to, incorporating your comments into the document and coming back in a month and a half or whatever it is for the vote. So,
Thank you very much.
So thank
for
you.
your presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Better.
Thank you. Yes, I will. Thank you, Rich. Really appreciate all your work.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Enjoy doing it. Thanks.
All right. With that that, we can move on to item 5B, which is the election of vice chair. Turns out we don't have one, and we need one, so.
I would nominate Sue Easterly for vice chair.
I'll second that one.
Very good.
Do I have to forward you say that I'll.
But you don't have any choice.
You're done now, we already.
Well,
Second it.
I don't, yes, I would be happy to fill in. It probably won't be necessary very often, but I can do it. I've done it in the past, but never so smoothly as our current chair, so if
I had a good predecessor.
if I votes in my favor, sure, I'll do it.
All right, wonderful. Just in case, are there any other nominations as well? All right, well then, in that case, all those in favor of electing Sue vice chair, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None opposed. Okay, thank you for your willingness to continue serving.
See you next week.
All right, item 5C is resolution R 3826, and that is authorizing the commencement of an action in circuit court for the purpose of relieving the city of the plat restriction in Outlot 1 in the plat of Mickelson Wood by amending it to include public transportation and support facilities.
I'll move approval of resolution R 3826.
Second.
All right, Eric, any background info?
I will do my best on this. If you can tell, it was written by our legal team here
Yes, it
for
is
this one.
wordy.
This is required by circuit court, so I'm describing this to the best of my knowledge. It is required for circuit courts to have this rezoned or installed. So basically what is going to be installed here at the location of Trevorton, I believe, and McKee Road is basically a charging station or a brake station for Madison Metro bus drivers. What is required here at this point is, since it is on City of Fitchburg property, it just needs to go through the appropriate boards and commissions. This small parcel is maintained, like many outlots throughout the city, by city staff or park staff. This isn't gonna change their maintenance requirements by any means. The maintenance of the actual structure itself is not going to be publicly accessible. It'll just be for Madison Metro employees, so it's not gonna cause any additional expected employee time, if any. They're going to continue mowing and maintaining that terrace and area that's there, but minimal, if any, associated staff time regarding grounds and landscape maintenance. Hopefully that provides, it's about
Yes,
the extent of the information I can provide on this.
Yeah, no, that's very helpful, thank you. You could.
You have to release, basically we have to release the covenant or whatever it was on, and there's no more errors or anyone that would have objected originally, so. Correct. That's why we're doing, we have to go through that process.
And Public Works already saw this
Public
and
Works
said yes,
That's
I'm
correct.
assuming?
Yes.
Okay.
That's correct.
I have a question about, it says there'll be a multi-use path, but there are sidewalks already on both sides of the street, so.
That multi-use path is just connecting the sidewalk to the actual structure itself.
Oh, okay.
That's going to be for, Madison Metro bus drivers
Okay,
too.
I was thinking of what we normally think of as a multi-use path for.
Steve, you have a correction?
Yeah. Speaking as Chair of the Transportation and Transit Commission, the multi-use path will replace the sidewalk. There is a multi-use path that comes out of McKee Farms Park and terminates at Brendan, that you're familiar with probably, runs along the Yarmouth Greenway, which is the Yarmouth branch of Nine Springs Creek.
Mm-hmm.
So there will be it will continue along Brendan to the west, and then there'll be a high visibility crosswalk, and it will cross Brendan and run up the east side of Trevorton Pike all the way to McKee Road. So what that will do is extend that park path and improve access to McKee Farms Park, extend the safe and comfortable route for biking and walking and rolling up to McKee Road. And there may be some further, there's a different project that will put a multi-use path on the south side of McKee Road. And so we're filling some gaps in the network
Okay.
there.
Wait, thank you.
Perfect. Thank you for the clarification, Steve.
You bet.
Just add, where, where the path is, people getting off the bus, they won't, it's on the other side of the charging station, so.
And 2 trees are lost then to this process?
There's a couple lost, but it shows we're planting three are being added, it looks like.
Okay.
Yeah, I think you're right, so that there were 2. But you say the diagram shows 3 being added here.
Yeah, there's street trees, I don't know.
I don't know what they are.
Their
They're
age.
showing a circle that trees would be there.
Yeah, in the, between the sidewalk and the street,
Yep, in the boulevard there.
in the,
They're already taking their fair share of oak trees out of that area.
yeah.
That's my
Yeah,
concern.
I don't know what they are.
I don't know either. I'm sorry, I haven't walked that one yet.
After they pass the plan, then you have to know.
Yeah.
All right, any other questions or comments? All right, all in favor of our 3826, say aye.
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 Opposed, say nay. All right, none opposed, motion carries. Item 5D, this is our 2726, approving plans and property use agreement for Outlot 8 of the second edition of Highlands to Seminole. So I do have a few folks registered to speak. First on my stack here is Steve Arnold, 2550 Targhee Street.
You want to get a resolution first?
Pardon?
We're gonna move.
A motion?
Motion before we have this discussion.
I thought public comments were able to go before the motion.
Well, usually we have.
Oh, well, it makes no difference to me,
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah. Go ahead, we'll have the public comment, that's fine.
So we are the applicant for this, so we might not be limited to 3 minutes. So you would, if you want to have a motion, because we would be happy to participate in the discussion with you if you see fit.
In that case, we'll do it that way. Yeah, we'll take the motion first, and then we'll do the presentation discussion. So, do I have anyone making a motion to approve our 2726?
I'll make a motion.
A second.
Second.
First and a second. All right. And I'll hand it over to you to give us.
Go ahead, Don.
Well, I want to thank you all for having us here again. I don't know, maybe it was a year or so ago that we were here, so it's nice to be back. And a couple things have happened since we were here
So
last.
for the video, you should introduce yourself.
Okay, my name's Dawn Stiegert, and since we were together last, we are now a nonprofit, Friends of Kyle Stiegert Greenway. We have a board of 7, and we had our first board meeting on Friday, which was wonderful. And 2 of the members of the board are my sons, so that when I get to the point where I cannot do this, there's a baton to pass to someone to carry things forward. My husband would have turned 67 on January 8th. And to honor him, we had an electronic fundraiser, if you will, and we were able to raise about $16,000 with that fundraiser. So right now on our account, we have about $25,000, and with a known additional $2,000 coming. And part of the board responsibility, of course, will to hold us accountable with one another and with the city, and to keep things moving forward, and for future fundraising. So
On Thursday, we got our IRS.
oh yes, and we had a determination letter from the IRS, so we are definitely a tax exempt corporation, which our donors are glad to hear about, and hoping that we can have some, ongoing donations, that we're a group that people want to commit to regularly.
So you'll recall that the previous resolution, we were proposing to approve the name and the conceptual plan. Excuse me. And we had provided a memorandum of understanding to the city. And they kind of threw that out and started over. So what you approved was the, and the council approved, was the conceptual plan and the name, Kyle Stigert Greenway. And you authorized, the council authorized staff to work with the organization, now corporation, to come up with a plan. And so what this resolution does is it approves construction plans and what the resolution calls a property use agreement, but what the agreement calls a property improvement agreement. Now, I don't know if that's a substantive problem. We will let the city attorney figure that out. But you can see the construction has evolved. The plan has evolved a bit. We are not using culverts. We are using a mowed path, using the precedent of the Harlan Hills Prairie paths. In fact, these will be actually mowed by the same staff on the same route, on the same days that those paths are mowed, 6-foot wide mowed paths. Since we last met with you, we've looped in Madison Metropolitan Sewer District. Their facilities are shown here, and we are dodging them by moving the bicycle furniture and its concrete pad as far to the east as possible.
I'll try to follow with my cursor here,
Steve. Yep. And let's see.
The red cross hatch is MMSD, Steve?
No, the green lines that
Right
go
down
under the
the
Cap City Trail are the 2 MMSD lines. The one that goes to the manhole cover that Eric is pointing to is the Gravity 9 Springs interceptor. And the parallel one further to the north is the effluent return line that provides a tap to water the 9 Springs golf course, and the rest of that water is bound for Badger Mill Creek. It's treated effluent, returning to the Badger Mill Creek watershed. We engaged with Mad Sewer to learn of their 9 Springs interceptor plans, which involve basically running a parallel interceptor. And this is a multi-decade project that has been working through the Badger Mill Valley in the city of Verona along the Ice Age Trail. And then farther east, you'll recall a few years ago, the Vela Underground Bicycle Roundabout was closed when the sewer came through there. But future phases will connect all the way to the lift station at the far northeast corner of Fitchburg along the 9 Springs Creek. And it will come through here in 2040. This is the steepest part of the current interceptor, and therefore it's the least urgent to get it increased in capacity. So it'll be the last phase between Seminole Highway and Fish Hatchery Road. Let's see, what else do we need to? You can see that we're going to be planting some birch trees there in the center as a memorial to Kyle.
One birch tree.
One birch tree. I was thinking of birches in clumps, but you are correct.
Which is going to be donated by K&A.
In answer to David's question, the red hatches are the fire breaks that our contractor cut. Corcus Landscape Management. They were recommended to us by the city. The city uses them as well, and they, of the $30,000 we've raised, about $5,000 has gone to buying the repair stands and parking, about $2,000, and about $3,000 to the herbicide treatments, the burn, and the goats that grazed off the site last summer. So we're hoping that you will approve the agreement and we're here to answer any questions you may have about this project.
Yeah, the only concern I had the last time I met with you guys a year ago was just the grade that you got going down the bike path there. And having gone down there myself on a bike at 20 some miles an hour, I just have some concerns about as you make the turn there, you know, maybe a sign of some kind, or either further up the hill before you get there, or somewhere.
So tell me where you're talking about. There's steep grades at the ramp up to Longford Terrace.
Yeah, when you're coming down off of the hill down there on, like, if you've ridden your bike.
Okay,
down
okay.
there.
You're talking about coming down from near the tennis courts at Edenberry.
Right, so as you go down there, you're moving, you know, at least
They are moving.
And I mean, I walk there all the time, so I have to jump out of the way sometimes. So my only concern about this, and like I raised a year ago, was, hey, if you're gonna do this, and I'm totally supportive of it, is there ought to be some, at least a sign or something to let people know that that's there.
Okay.
So that they either slow their bike down or be aware.
Because people are stopping now.
Because
They're
people are gonna
go in
be,
there and
exactly, and
it's
coming
a
out
great
with their
idea.
bike and so on, right? And so if you're coming out with your bike after you've sat there and, you know, worked on it, I mean, personally, if I go to use it, I'm hopeful that the guys coming down the hill are cognizant that there's something there, that they're gonna slow down.
Well, we're not changing the path at all, and we're not, or the trail, and we're not putting anything on the trail. The reason that we picked that particular place, one of the reasons we picked that particular place for the repair stand and the parking and the entrance was because it had long views, both from the underpass under Longford Terrace and from the Cannonball Connector off to the west. And so I think that that will be good visibility. As you know, Dane County Parks maintains the trail. We're coordinating with them. They will continue to mow the vegetation along the trail, because if the vegetation is allowed to be right up against the trail, then it will flop over on the trail and be an obstruction. So they mow the margins, the shoulders of the trail.
Is that something that we can do, put a sign up there? I mean,
Regarding things going on the actual Cap City Trail, I wouldn't be able to speak to that. I think that would
Okay.
have to be through either
The
Dane
Dane County
County.
Parks.
Yeah, it would be through Dane County.
Dane County Parks has a memorandum of understanding to operate the state trail with DNR. So it's not a crossing of the trail. People who get onto the footpath will have to come from the trail, state trail. So there will be an awareness of the people using this area of what the trail is like. But we can certainly talk. We worked with Chris James, the former, the retired planner for Dane County Park. We have not yet been in contact with his successor. So we could definitely bring that up.
Did you have any plans for steps down from Yarmouth? People go down
First,
there?
I will say that those things that look like steps are little windows around the contour line markers.
Okay.
So that should not,
Okay.
try not to be confused by those.
it's
we
cost
as-
prohibitive,
We
really.
assess that, and it would be you'd have to have a ramp that would take the whole width of the site to be ADA.
Yeah. And I know there are some neighbors, and not that they would be opposed, but they did wonder if there was gonna be access off of Yarmouth Greenway, because they were wondering, well, does that mean cars are gonna be parked along the street or whatever, but I just said, no, it's not gonna happen, so.
If the cars are parked along the street, they're just partying at Don's house.
Yeah, right.
What is could you tell me a little bit more about the fire break? What is the, what is that? How
They
is it
just
maintained?
go
It's just
through
a
that
trim?
6-foot width and remove any fuel before they do a prescribed burn.
And the prescribed burn would be in this prairie seeded part of the?
The prescribed burn basically covers from the path all the way up to the mowed grass by the sidewalk at the south edge. They
And
don't.
we've had one.
We've had one, and we expect to have more over time, periodically, but we don't know what the frequency is. That'll depend on the vegetation management needs.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you're fine, Dawn and Steve took some time, a couple weeks ago, was it about 2 weeks ago?
Yeah.
They brought me up to speed regarding this project. I think ultimately our goals between them being the requesters of this and basically the donators to the city is just to have a collaborative development as we go through it. We do have to balance some staff input, thoughts, considerations, et cetera. So I did meet with staff, took some comments from them regarding this. And I just briefly before the meeting, we do have some variations regarding the planting plan, but I think that's something that we can work collaboratively as the requesters and the actual donators as we go further working with Parkitecture for the actual designs. Some of them may be some alterations to the overall area of the planting itself, but otherwise this project is basically going to be 100% donator fund with fairly minimal staff involvement regarding for the actual installation of it. There are 17 proposed tree removals on there, but I want to be clear that those proposed tree removals in this section here are species that we would be in favor of, managing anyways. We have some dead crab apples and we have some box elders that we would be in favor of removing. Now, this comes into potentially adjusting some of these planting areas. We do also have to balance the priorities of canopy preservation as well. I think there's a happy medium to be had here, and I would feel confident that between the requesters and city staff that we can come up with an alternate. Parkitecture did draft these designs, from my understanding, pro bono. They're at the point, they're at the point now to where if they have further development into it, we're talking about funds and expenditures of funds. So before we moved forward with any conceptual designs or changes, we would have to have this land use agreement, or what is the official name?
Property improvement agreement.
Property improvement or property use agreement. By a prerequisite, we would have to have that approved before we move forward with any official changes. These are not complete engineering plans. These are still some conceptual stages. So there's some.
We thought they were.
Yeah.
If you say they're not, then they're not.
But we would, I would like to work with the requesters to see if we can find potentially some proposed planting changes.
Okay.
Yeah, I think from our perspective, if we're able to approve the plan, knowing that the city and the donors are able to kind of work to fine tune a couple things and probably not even need, to bother Parkitecture for plan changes, it's stuff that you can work out on your own and just do it.
Use a Sharpie.
Yeah, use a Sharpie, use a red Sharpie and call
Yeah,
it
we
good.
definitely want to have a partnership, absolutely.
And you guys have done the majority of the work up to this point. I think it's facilitation up to this point. Implementation is what we can discuss with the donators up to this point. So I would appreciate the collaboration, and I appreciate the work that you guys have put into it too. And I appreciate taking some staff comments, and I think what we can do is come to a mutual understanding.
So do you want to have, tell us what those are before we go to tree committee next week?
So what we are proposing and what staff recommendations are at this point for retaining our tree canopy in this area, which is where some black walnuts are. We can do some sprout management. What I mean by that is some regrowth management within that area, but retain some of the larger caliber trees that are within that area.
Are you talking the box elders or the?
No, box elders, we're in favor of removing.
Okay, so all the X's are box elders?
Right.
Correct, yes,
yep. And so we're not proposing right now to remove any more trees than those that are X'd.
Okay. I think what we would like to see is the area on the interior of the pathway here that I am drawing with my cursor as the proposed planting plan. So everything from here to the Cap City Trail in this lighter shade green is what we would propose as a planting area.
As a prairie? As a prairie?
Yes, as a proposed prairie.
Yeah.
And no margins on the southwest side of the path?
Preferably not, no.
Well, it seems what kind of understory would you expect to grow back there if there was no management?
Anna, would you be able to comment further on this, please?
Because I know what's there now.
Thank you.
Or what we cut down.
Yeah, so I think, because it was pretty invasive when the site was considered. So I think the concern is just, in terms of long-term maintenance and I know you have a sightline issue you've talked about a little bit, but in terms of long-term maintenance and just cost and things of that nature, and also maintenance of those black walnut trees, I think if we could get in there and just do a rough mow a couple times a year, that would knock it down. There's not much growing under those black walnut trees by design, between the juggalo and among other things. And part of the concern is like, if we try to get prairie going under there, we're gonna be fighting the squirrels planting little walnut trees. We're also gonna be fighting that juggalo forever. So it doesn't make a ton of sense to try and get prairie growing in that area. It's also kind of a north slope. It's pretty shaded. It can get kind of wet.
Can you cursor with the area she's referring to? Yeah.
Black walnut kind of poison a little bit,
Yes,
things don't like to grow under the black.
Right, exactly, yeah. So, and that's primary, and then there's also an aspen clone there that I don't really wanna have to take out. Which isn't, I don't think Katie has that on the plans, but there is an aspen clone. There's little aspen trees that are growing. You can kind of see it. It's in those pictures. I don't know if I can pick it out or not, but at any rate, so that was the thought that so you can see the bigger trees in there are, well, a couple of those. So like, if you look at this, so, I don't know if you can see. So like, that's a black walnut. I'm not gonna be able to tell for sure what all of these trees are from these pictures, but some of the bigger trees here are black walnuts that we did wanna maintain on the site because they're doing fine. We might as well leave them. They're gonna provide shade among other ecosystem services to the site. And if we can keep the prairie to a defined area, it's a little bit easier to know who's maintaining what. If we have those undefined edges, sometimes that's a little hard to, those undefined edges, it's a little hard to know, like, okay, where do the weeds stop? Where does the prairie start? Where is that line? So if we have that path being the line, it's pretty clear.
So you're saying the darker green path be the line versus where the light green and the... Yeah, show me,
So
there
like,
you go. Okay. Oh, okay.
And that.
Well, you stopped right at the fork of the path, then what do you propose there?
So then, so I don't think we'd want to do anything over there. I mean, we could talk about that, but so the other thing is like that's gonna be a little bit hard to maintain because it's just a little chunk, right? So same with like some of this because it's not very contiguous. So I don't know, it's hard to maintain prairie in kind of an odd shape like that.
Well, this margin between the two shades of green that show the proposed prairie area was developed in response to you wanting a more simple line. And I respect that, but now the boundary that you're proposing doesn't seem to address that branch path that goes up to the existing circle of stones.
Yeah.
And it is a more complex boundary.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where it's just like, well, what do we gain by having prairie there versus like rough mowing it?
So can we go back to the photos?
I just want to mention too, last year when I observed the tree advisory committee discussion of the drawings at the time, Anna did ask for the boundary to be along the path edge.
Yeah.
Going back to last year.
Okay. There is a man-made feature that has become over time a natural feature, which is a ridge there. And I think that you can see it most clearly in the center right-hand photo.
Could you point out to me if you're standing
Sure. If I can find the cursor.
If you point to
right
the
there,
screen,
yeah.
I can find right here.
Yes, yep, that's
Okay.
where we're talking about.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And so that's what we were proposing to use as the boundary of the prairie. This side of that is relatively flat. On the far side, that is the south side, it slopes up and down over the ridge and then steeply up toward Yarmouth Greenway Drive. And that's why we picked that as a natural boundary.
Yeah, I mean, I can appreciate that. I mean, I guess the concern is, you know, maintenance concern, and also just, you've got those black walnut trees dropping walnuts in there, and also the juglone is present. You know, that's why there's not a whole lot of stuff growing there now. So, that's the, you know,
Well,
that's
so
the,
both juglone and walnuts go downhill.
right, yeah.
And so eventually, if this were an unmanaged area, the walnuts would take over all the way to the trail, which of course is managed. So, you know, we are, I mean, we're gonna have this discussion at the staff level and maybe even on site, but you know, we're proposing to manage that.
We would still have staff perform that rough mowing on the areas outside of the proposed prairie as well. So any regrowth and stuff like that, we would still have staff be able to mow and manage that.
So there would be a sight line if it's mowed.
Sightline can.
Well, I mean, the
Can
thing
you
is, like,
clarify?
you can't, I think, I'm not 100% sure, because you can't really see through prairie, so I don't know, like, when you talk about, I mean, that's why I was like, I know there's a sightline concern, because that's been brought up many times, but I'm not really sure that we solved that by having prairie there, but.
I'm wondering a couple things. I talked with Christina from Corcus, and you know, she actually wondered a couple things. One was if there was any chance of, you know, replacing some of the walnuts with oak. Just putting it out there. And the other thing she said is she definitely was planning with the prairie seed to accommodate for the black walnuts in case that didn't work to do any replacement. So she has that in her plan and taken into consideration that the black walnuts are there, and so for the prairie seed to function with it. And there would be some maintaining, and you guys are the experts with this, but there would be some maintaining I'm hearing with the black walnuts being, you know, scurried about with the squirrels and planted and whatnot. Maybe that's would be part of our labor too, is to maintain that if it were to be prairie.
If I may, would it be appropriate then to request, like, once we have, you know, final adoption and approval of this property improvement agreement, that we can work with your Corcus representatives and you guys as well to kind of go through what their proposals are, kind of what our needs and our requests are as well, and hopefully come to a conclusion at that point as well.
Sure. I'm okay with that, yeah,
Yeah, no, I think that's fine, and you know, if you want to put more oaks there, fine. It's just tough because of those black walnuts, you know, and.
She meant in place of the black walnuts, so,
If I may, if we have existing trees, I think if we're trying to retain our previous canopy that we have on site, I would generally be in favor of retaining what we have there for an established canopy.
Yeah, we heard the plan before, so.
In the very northern corner of the site, where it's proposed that there's a bench there.
Yeah.
There are a couple of healthy young oaks
Yes.
that are mapped, and no walnuts that we know of. So the area from the cursor to the left up to the path, could that be part of the prairie?
I mean, potentially, there's not, I haven't been out there for a while.
Or oak opening?
Yeah.
I don't know that we have a lot of walnuts right in that spot. I don't think we do.
We do, not that I've seen.
Not that I've seen either, I don't think. So, I mean, sure, I mean, like, I think it's just, you know, we're happy to be flexible. We just don't want to see a ton of walnut trees come down and then we're constantly like.
Okay, but let's go back to the fact that the plan does not show any walnut trees being removed.
Yeah, fine.
Okay?
Yeah.
No
right.
walnut trees being removed.
But
then you're meaning the seed, the walnut seeds being dropped and maintaining that, is that,
Right,
yeah.
but the thing is, they're not, but what we also don't see there is all the walnut trees that are in that area aren't showing up, so that's part of the issue, so, do you have a comment?
No, I'm just.
Okay.
I don't think that we've seen a lot of recruitment of walnuts north of the berm where we're talking about. Now, it could be that the line, and I'm trying to discern the contour lines through the plan there, but there could be the line that separates the unmanaged area from the proposed prairie might need to be a little further to the upper right. I think that it deviates from the berm toward the west side because because of that branch path.
And a lot of these details, though, are things that we're not gonna decide here tonight anyway, correct?
Yeah, I would say.
So I
like your idea of working with, the Corcus and us.
Generally,
and-
once we
yeah.
have the once we move forward with the property improvement agreement,
Sure.
dedicating staff time to planning, engineering, actual implementation is absolutely fine once we go through the formal adoption of this is something that is going to
Now we
occur.
can do it.
We generally approve of this project and moving forward with it. Now what we do is we plan for implementation.
Yeah.
And I think that would be the appropriate area to discuss some of these things.
I'm being a little bit of a skinflint here, but our objective at the beginning of this, getting volunteer engineering time and volunteer landscape architect time, was to try to avoid involving city staff except for the approval. We weren't really planning for you to implement everything and plan everything. We were planning to general contract this ourselves with city permission. Now, administration has made it clear that that's not going to happen.
Correct.
That the city is going to hire all the contractors and everything, and I get that, but we would still not like to go down a long road involving city professionals, which we will be paying for.
Right.
So that's why we thought that we had a final plan. And if you say, well, let's just agree to the agreement. This agreement requires us to put money in every time it gets drawn down to a particular point, and it doesn't give us any say as to how the money is spent. Now, you can say, well, the people that we're dealing with now, we feel are good people and they won't abuse it, but this agreement is supposed to be perpetual, so we would at least like to not start out on the back foot in terms of having to invest a lot more in planning.
100% agree. I totally agree with you. I don't think there's much that needs to be changed in the form of planning. When we actually go through an implementation plan, I would also propose expected costs for contractors. We can lay those out. We will discuss them so we clearly define what costs are going where out of these donated funds before we approve quotes, contracts, etc. Then we'll know concrete costs, we'll know installation costs, anticipated or expected staff time. I think it's very easy to define, and I think it's something that we can make very clear before we proceed with approval of any quotes or contracted work. We will know where your donated dollars are going. If that makes sense.
So, are you going to amend the resolution that says approves the plans? Or are you going to amend the plans before they go to council at the end of the month? Or
good question.
My legalistic instincts are kicking in.
Yeah, good question, Chris. Maybe approve plans as amended by donators and city staff and property use agreement for Outlet 8.
Yeah.
Or you would have to approve the resolution as proposed, but you can make an amendment on your motion, correct?
Yeah, we can make them.
And
Yeah, you can
made
make
the
an
motion and I
amendment, yeah.
seconded, so
Yes. Would you like to?
Is that correct, Dave, procedurally?
Yeah.
So you approve the resolution, but you can say, make a motion as amended.
We would have to make an amendment here. I would
Yeah.
say. Yeah. So what is the amendment we're proposing?
I had suggested language, approving plans as suggested by donator and city staff input.
I'll make a different suggestion because, like Dave, I have a little experience at this, and I would say that it would be a better way or a more clear way than those exact words to have a be it further resolved clause that gives staff leave to work with the donor to make adjustments to the plan as mutually agreed.
I would agree with Steve.
Okay, so I would move to amend the resolution, therefore be it resolved to, and Steve's working,
Okay, I'll give you that again if you
Second.
type it.
So second,
I'm
would you be able
second
to
it.
send that to me? Yeah.
Yes, I will draft something and send it to you.
Then-
Thank you.
Then the
I
council,
have the
then
official
will,
language for it.
council, we will indicate that the park's approved as amended.
That's a much better way of wording it. Thank you, Steve.
Then we'll, yeah, then if you can get us that wording so it can be in there.
I will write it on the back of a registration slip before I leave.
Yeah, perfect.
Cocktail napkin?
And
No, I got
and Sue seconded the amendment, so
Oh, here it is.
we can vote on the resolution as amended, so all in favor?
We have to vote on the amendment first.
Oh, we have to go on the amendment first, all right, yes, so I'm sorry, all those in favor of the amendment, say aye.
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 Any opposed? None opposed, so now all those in favor of the resolution as amended? Aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries, there we go. We got there, took us a while, but we got there.
Thank you very much for the procedural help.
Well, thank you for everything, really.
Thank you for all
You
the
guys have
time
done a
you
lot
put
of work.
into everything.
Very serious.
We're very excited.
Thank you very
to
much,
see it
Anna,
come
for
together.
getting there. I
I'm
appreciate
excited
it.
about this.
Thank you.
I'm excited about this project.
You are excited about this project? Oh, I'm so glad to hear that, yeah. Yeah. Well, it was just all invasives and weeds and
I know,
so.
it's nasty, it's nasty.
Yep, yep.
I can see people coming and there's, I gotta take a break before I climb that hill.
Oh, we have people already asking, when is this gonna happen? Because I wanna sit down and rest.
Oh, yeah, good. No, it's good
So-
for us to all figure it out.
So it's great.
All right, a couple more items for us to check off here in the agenda tonight. 5E is our 3326, and that's authorizing city staff to proceed with design and project scope for the inclusive playground shelter.
I will make a note that in the approval of this resolution, the committee should note whether they prefer option A or option B for the shelter design, please.
Okay, so we should, let's see, how is that resolution written? Do we need to discuss that first before?
I believe there are actually blank sections within that resolution to fill in what the preferred option was.
And could somebody show a picture of option 2, please?
Just a moment.
That's A.
That's A.
Silo is A and that's B.
Oh, okay, oh, that's pretty.
Oh, let's just, we'll read it in the minutes, we'll get the minutes. Can you read that?
My handwriting.
Okay. Sorry, giving me a second here, I just wanna get to the right language.
So if you guys recall, at January 5th meeting, we had a proposed shelter design for McKee. It was just a discussion item at that meeting, based on split input and preferences, pretty much right down the middle regarding the shelter design itself. I did request Parkitecture, who is the conceptual designers for that option A, to propose a as close as possible option B that would work without changing any of the existing landscaping concrete work. The scope of the change that they did was just propose a shelter design change, and then they provided some rough OPCs, which is opinions of projected costs or probable costs for these two structures. Their intent was to ideally keep the same square footage. Sue had a few questions regarding shade and the general square footage. It is as close as possible to the grain bin style, this option B as option A. So this is what was conceptualized by Parkitecture as per our requests.
So the motion?
Right, somebody would like to.
One question first, I'm sorry, what is the difference in cost between A and B?
Option A, I will scroll to the OPCs. If you see here, the total cost is $148,285.50, so roughly $150,000. This is option B, being the octagonal or polygonal style structure, being $170,000. What the difference in prices specifically for the shelter is $95,000 for the shelter, the octagonal structure, and $75,000 for the grain silo structure.
Thank you.
One thing I will note as well is after receiving some engineering comment as well, we will be required to install pier footings underneath these structures. That was at the request of our engineering staff.
There's mushy ground there. The ground is not, that's a swamp.
They were gonna do a thickened slab in that area underneath the actual upright pedestals. Engineering was adamant that we include piers underneath those structures. So there is some cost offset, but I wanna note that that cost is the same for both versions.
Yeah, it looks like that's already included in the OPC.
Correct.
Can I raise a point here? You know, this is for shade. Wouldn't we be better off planting some trees? And then we have there's the splash pad, and that's used mostly in warm weather. You know, when we have leaves on the trees. Wouldn't we be better off just planting trees, and then we'd be done? You know, it'd take a little bit for them to grow. You know, obviously, but then you're not maintaining a structure.
Well, we are just having to react to the capital improvement thing that was already.
It's a done deal.
It's a done.
I would agree with Sue.
So
This
It's a done deal.
is approved capital funds.
we can still plant trees, but I
agree with you.
That's just, this is one person's, this is a mayor's, you know, I have to have this shelter, and trees would be so much better.
Yeah.
You know, we want to have long-term maintenance okay.
Well, my motion is to select option B, the non-silo option.
That one is
I'll second that.
$20,000. I think it was more expensive, just so we're.
It's more expensive?
Yep,
Yeah.
and Heidi seconded.
The difference, just to reiterate, Dave, I'll go back to the OPCs. For option A, which is the grain bin silo, expected construction cost with anticipated contingency is $148,000 and change, with the shelter being a cost of $75,000. Option B being the polygonal or octagonal style structure, total project costs being $170,000 and change, and the shelter cost being $75,000. So there's a $20,000 difference between the two.
So if we're spending the more money, I guess I'm never in favor of that, but is there, when we have less maintenance on one, you know, like the one versus the other?
I did speak with Parks maintenance staff. I think it's negligible between the two regarding the actual materials they're constructed out of.
The thing I like, I spent more money, but it's kind of similar to what we put in Storm Prairie.
That was by intent.
Yeah.
To match an existing shelter as well.
I like the look of that. I just don't like spending more money.
I think it was approved before we even saw it, Dave.
So I
Didn't
have
come
a
to us.
question or comment. This is all really new to me, but I look at that and I look at what somebody's paying to build an entire garage or a significant part of a new home. And so it is difficult for me to understand how that is $170,000.
I would concur with you.
Yeah,
That's
I
exactly.
see that all the time.
That's exactly why I request. Yeah, that's exactly why I requested an OPC. It's very easy for me to determine line items in those as well and actually see where these costs are going. If you note, there are things like the masonry wraps that are around them, the existing or the proposed flat work within the project itself, flat work being concrete costs and everything. It is expensive.
And being the engineer's estimate, an actual bid by contractor could come in, often, opinion probable cost or an engineer's estimate, they'll like to start on the high side to make sure that it's covered when the bids do come in. So we hopefully cross our fingers, and sometimes you get lucky, not always.
So what will happen is when there's, and this is very much in layman's terms, crash course overview, this project would require it to be publicly bid. So we would take our engineering plans, solicit bids and advertisements to actually build this, like a general contractor to build this. Those costs can fluctuate sometimes substantially. So it could be lower, it could be higher, they could come in between. For example, with a contract, we recently had a $50,000 deviation between a fairly expected cost, which is drastic. That's not this project, it's a different one, but those costs can fluctuate quite a bit.
Now, the one, I asked some questions separately via email, and the one thing I had wondered, and you explained why in this case, but that a square shelter, because this is, either one is not, but the option B that we see that costs $20,000 more is sized as it is to fit on the pad that the other one's designed for. So I do still wonder if the pad wasn't round and the pad was square or rectangular, would we get a less expensive options that are similar to option B? And that's what could knock the price down, but is that something that when it is put out to bid, is it gotta look exactly like it was designed with a round pad? Because that's limiting our options for shelters that are not a silo.
I would agree with you that it is limiting our options. I think that was an aesthetic choice to create it as a circle, so I think that's kind of what moved forward with it. I would not think that we would be able to take those plans out to bid if they weren't square versus circular. I think we would have to take the plans as circular with a circular-ish structure, either octagonal or the grain bin one to bid. I think that would be beyond the capabilities to adjust at that point prior to going to bid.
But, so there's no way to have it adjusted now at all? It's gonna have to be a round pad no matter what?
No, you could make a recommendation to disallow this design and recommend we pursue a square shaped shelter. That could be a motion if approved.
Okay.
What you could do is you could make a recommendation via the Parks Commission saying that you would like to see a re-proposal for a square shelter. This will still be on the upcoming council agenda for them to vote, so at that point you would be able to vote on it. Dave, if you could provide some clarification for me, council could defer back to Parks Commission.
They can, yeah.
But I would think that they would ultimately make a call at that council meeting based on your recommendation if you provide one.
The mayor's gonna tell them what they want, and that's what council's gonna approve 7-1.
Yeah.
And, you see what they think of our opinion.
But is that accurately described, procedural, Dave?
Yeah, that is,
Okay.
you know, what, I guess, Eric, what, if we could ask to defer it, the resolution, you know, come before council. I could ask to defer it while we're evaluating the different.
That would be if Parks Commission makes the motion and carries the motion to adjust a square shelter, correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
And I would probably,
it could.
There won't be time before Tuesday for Eric to get, you know.
I have what I have, and what will move forward with council is the recommendation from Parks Board readjusting concepts and engineering plans. At this point, I wouldn't be able to prepare before Tuesday's meeting.
Right, understood. So I would say if you want to make a motion to just go to simple square structure, then it can't be ready for council.
Yeah.
It can't be ready for council on Tuesday.
I have a feeling that if we amend the motion, it's not gonna make any difference. Because the delay is just gonna
Yeah, I mean, we did.
result in them choosing A or B.
Granted, we didn't have the cost estimates beforehand, but we did have our overall, known budget for this project.
Yeah.
And we were shown the grain bins, and we went back to the engineering team and said, show us something like that, but not a grain bin.
Yeah.
And that's what they did. So I think our window to propose a square one, it hasn't closed, but without knowing, I'm hesitant to do that without knowing what that magnitude of savings is. Is it gonna save us $5,000 or is it gonna save us 20?
Right.
And
I'm cognizant of staff capacity too.
I know, staff capacity, and
thank you, Dave.
And
Yeah.
especially if we're saying, well, we like this more expensive shelter, but also show us a square one that could be the cheaper version.
That looks more like that, but doesn't cost more than the option A. Yeah, I know it's getting complicated.
Feels a little,
Yeah, it's complicated. I'll stick with the same motion. But this, for future reference and future planning, when the council takes money from the parks funds that can be used for community parks and goes all the way to the steps they did, and no one ever came and asked us, gee, what do you think we should do? Then this is why we end up where we are.
Yeah.
And it's been long before I started, and I've been here doing this for 7 years. And we just always get stuck with what somebody else thought that never asked Parks Commission what we thought. So that's off the soapbox. I won't change the motion, and we can just vote. The motion is for option B.
Before we vote, Darren, I thought you were gonna say something.
I guess I'm still wrapping my head around the cost of this particular shelter. And people in the industry, I'm curious if as a homeowner, I went to Parkitecture or a similar firm and said, this is what I want in my yard. Would I, as a homeowner, be given a quote for $170,000?
I think you would. You know, I hear about people. You don't think so?
So I'm just, I think in advocating for taxpayers' dollars, I just wonder what incentive do people who are bidding on this have when Parkitecture is kind of giving them the parameters of, we think this is a $170,000 project.
Yeah,
And so
it's a
in terms
best
of
guess.
stewarding our dollars.
Some bids have come in surprisingly lower.
Okay.
Keep our fingers crossed.
Well, I mean, you can raise it even higher. How did this project get risen to the level of funding? How do they decide this project was more important than project XYZ?
Yeah.
Right?
The city decide.
I understand that, but I mean, if you really want to take it up a couple of
Right.
levels
Oh,
about
yeah.
where this is relative to spending, okay, let's have that discussion, right?
Yeah.
Why are we spending $170,000
At
on
all.
a shelter at all when we just heard a presentation about how underfunded we are in trees? So I mean, there's bigger discussions here. Fortunately, we have little or no control of them.
Okay.
So,
Shall
I
we
guess
vote?
with that, yeah, we have a motion and a second, so, why don't we vote on that? So all those let's see, we are on item, I'm sorry, before we do so, I do have a citizen forum just wishing to make it be known that, wishing to register that they preferred B. But why is it $20,000 more? So that fantastic points today, Patrick Cheney. So, all right, so now we can vote. All those in favor of R 3226, please say aye.
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 Opposed, say nay. Motion carries. All right, item 5F, R 3726, and this is amending the 2026 TID closure fund and capital projects fund budgets for the replacement of picnic tables and benches.
I can give a bit of background to this one. Staff is proposing to purchase, or is planning to purchase, new picnic tables for Hostahochi. Looking to see what we can do as far as any remaining parks and see if we had any other picnic table or bench needs. There were completed capital projects at some of these other parks, but insufficient funds remain to purchase the said benches and picnic tables. In order to complete these projects with those new features, these budget amendments are required. They were assisted by Finance Department regarding the actual source for them and what would be the most adequate ones. I know specifically the Southdale Park ones is coming from existing funds from the actual property transfer from the town of Madison. But that's what is recommended as far as pursuing with the budget change, just so we can complete these capital projects.
Again, what does it cost for a bench?
How many picnic tables and benches is this? I'm not seeing that itemized.
I would have to pull up the exact amount again. It is for total picnic table replacement at the park from existing ones, just to have consistent maintenance-free ones that are in line with the other capital projects.
There were a lot of picnic tables there because there's a shelter there. And it's
And those tables are in terrible condition.
If I recall correctly, the tables themselves were just under they were several $100s per table.
Okay.
Which actually sounds like the lower end of,
Seems
furnishings
reasonable.
are really expensive.
Again, I think having the numbers and then knowing what you're getting for that is helpful.
forecasted quantities that would be?
Just a moment, please.
For sure, I want them to have nice picnic tables, but I do think it's a responsibility for us to steward the funds appropriately, responsibly.
Totally agree.
Yeah. So then in the end, we get more bang, like we can do more in the city.
Right.
So for instance, the 6-foot benches, which are handicap accessible benches, benches are actually fairly expensive because they are custom built with City of Fitchburg logos embossed into them, and some are actual memorial benches or designated benches. They're 6-foot benches, each being $1,800. Total line item being around $55,000. I assume that was then rounded up for the actual budget amendment. Now let me go to picnic tables.
That includes the concrete foundation underneath them or whatever they're using or not?
We would, yes, that would be everything included in the actual installation.
They charged me $2,000 for mine, what the hell?
Saw you coming, sir.
Yeah, they got us.
All right, so for picnic tables, I'll give you the line item here as well. For 8-foot aluminum picnic tables that are not handicap accessible, they are I can tell $967, handicap accessible ones being $1,013.
Total or each?
I'm sorry, what was that, Heidi?
Total or each?
Each. What the total is proposed within the budget amendment.
So without crunching the numbers on each project, we have a rough estimate, give or take $1,000 each for a picnic table.
I will say that these budget amendments amounts are rolled up to the nearest 100 or 1,000 to accommodate that.
Just for future reference, I wonder how much in the future a bench, when we order it or purchase it, does it really need to have the logo on it? I mean, how much more does that cost? It'd be interesting to know.
That's a good question. This was going off of previous precedent.
Yeah.
Standardization.
Mm-hmm.
At least if they steal it, they steal the one with the logo.
Yeah, well.
It's been stolen.
If we find it in the Verona Park system.
All right, Sid, would you to make a motion for our 3726?
I'll move approval.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
I would like to propose the picnic tables with half being handicap accessible and the other half not.
I don't know if it's
Just so we're reading.
I don't know if it's exactly
What?
half, but I can guarantee that each park is going to be receiving handicap accessible picnic tables. I'm unclear of the exact amount for them. We also have some space requirements within some shelters if they're going in existing shelters for the sections that butt out for handicap wheelchair access. But I can say that there will be handicap accessible picnic tables included in this purchase.
Do they generally just at least one per park of the handicap?
I wouldn't be able
Yeah.
to verify. I wouldn't be able to verify.
Yeah, okay.
Ideally, yes. Let me say that. So
Yeah.
ideally.
Yeah, makes sense.
Does that satisfy your request for your motion, Heidi, knowing that?
Yes,
Okay.
sure does. Thank you.
Very good, thank you. And Sue has seconded, so all those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Not opposed, motion carries. All right, agenda item number 6, communication items. Any communications that aren't on the agenda? I don't think so. So staff reports, we have our reports in there. Does anybody have any questions or comments on the staff reports?
If not, I don't want to take up any more of your time, but I would like to highlight just a few things.
Yes, please do.
Park staff has been working very diligently to move forward with our tree removals. This lapse in snow has actually allowed them to move forward with quite a bit of them, putting us in a pretty good scenario for the removal season for the trees this year. Sounds like once they complete their tree removals, they'll be moving forward with clearance pruning as well, so they have some time dedicated to that. Anna's not here right now, but I do want to acknowledge her and other staff's involvement in receiving of the ISA Gold Leaf Award. What ISA is the International Society of Arboriculture. These awards are given to
one district per year. There is the Wisconsin Arborist Association, which encompasses our district, which in theory then would mean this is a statewide award just because of our district. This has the second time now the city of Fitchburg has received the Gold Leaf Award. This is for planting efforts that Dave previously mentioned in Hugo Jamestown. This was a multi-partner and multi-staff involvement project. So I'm very happy to see that award received again, very much thanks to staff and volunteer and other organization input on that. We do have a press release for that is published up to this point, and I believe we're also gonna be making a specific, not resolution, but specific agenda item for city council to recognize that receipt of that award as well.
Thank you.
My stuff is pretty boring, so I'll go through, I will say we are moving forward with potential design concepts for Hosta-Hochi signage, as well as the inclusion of descriptive or educational language on a sign on the interior of the structure. They're very much in their conceptual stages at this point, but we will be soliciting input from the Ho-Chunk Nation for the development of that educational language, and we'll receive a couple versions of conceptual signage for the front of it. Think of this similar to our park ID or park entrance signs.
Very good. Any
Thanks.
questions? No? All right. Known future agenda items?
Yes. Sorry, I have to hijack this one as well. My apologies. If you recall, I believe in December, it was the No Oaks preliminary plat discussion. We will be having the final plat discussion at the next March meeting. This is an anticipation pending discussion at the city council level next week, but Parks Board may be deferred to assess a current pickleball fee schedule for reservations, potentially. And that's what I have for now, unless there's any other recommended future agenda items besides the April one for the next discussion on the urban forestry management plan.
For the No Oaks, Eric, we don't have a subdivision agreement yet, or that was deferred. Will that affect our discussion?
I don't believe it will, because in speaking with our planner and zoning administrator, there's going to be 0 changes from the preliminary plat as it relates to Parks Commission.
Thank you.
What may change on the subdivision neighborhood development may very well change, I don't know, but nothing will affect the proposed parkland dedication.
Sounds good, thank you.
Good. All right, any announcements? With none, we'll take a motion to adjourn.
Move we adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Carried unanimously. We're adjourned at 7:56.